Now, given some initial values, we're going to use the identities to find the values of the remaining trigonometric functions of data. So, given that is, for example, number one, given that cosecant theta is 3 over 2 and secant theta should be greater than 0, we're going to find the other values of sine, cosine, secant, tangent, and cotangent. So, um, these are the things we need to remember when you're going to solve those things. First is you're going to should be familiarized with this one, the fundamental trigonometric identities. The cosecant is the reciprocal is 1 over sine. Secant, it's equal to 1 over cosine. Cotangent is equal to 1 over tangent. Quotient identities, tangent theta is equal to sine over cosine. Cotangent is equal to cosine over sine. Pythagorean identity, sine squared theta plus cosine theta squared or cosine theta squared is equal to 1. Tangent theta squared plus 1 is equal to secant squared theta. 1 plus cotangent squared theta is equal to cosecant squared theta. So with this one, you could have the other varieties. Example, if you're going to look for cosine, given that it's sine, so you could simply transpose this one to solve for cosine, just like this. Cosine squared theta is equal to 1 minus sine squared theta. So to cancel the squared, you just need to square root it. So this is the answer. So another thing you should familiarize with is this one. So sine theta is equal to y. Cosine theta, given that it's xy, cosecant theta is equal to 1 over y. So you did remember the reciprocal of sine is cosecant. For cosine, it's secant. For tangent, it's cotangent. So that's the reciprocal. So if it is y, 1 over y. If it is x, 1 over x. If it is, this should be y over x. The cotangent should be x over y. So another thing to be remembered is in the first quadrant, the x and y are positive. For the second quadrant, the x is negative, the y is positive. For third quadrant, it's all negative. But in fourth quadrant, the x is positive, the y is negative. So you need to remember this also with this one and the other things. So first is we're going to solve for other values of the trigonometric functions of theta, given that cosecant is 3 over 2. So it's easier if there is one given. So the first one is cosecant theta is equal to 3 over 2. The first thing you're going to solve is its reciprocal. So the reciprocal of cosecant is sine. So sine. So we could solve easily sine theta, which is equal to 2 over 3. So it's the reciprocal. So baliktarin mo lang yan. That's sine. Cosecant is, ang kabaliktaran niya is sine. So next is, given that sine, you could solve for cosine with the use of the Pythagorean identities. So what are we going to use? This one. So i-transpose mo yan siya. Ay, ito pa lang. Transpose mong sine squared theta, so that ang matira na lang is cosine squared para ma-solve mo ang cosine squared theta, tapos square root mo. So that what will come out is this one. So cosine theta, when you transpose this, and then it will be like this. After squaring this off, so that you could cancel yung square root, so matira is cosine this one. So to better understand that, we could simply write cosine theta is equal to negative 1 minus sine squared theta. So why is it negative? So that is where we're going to identify which quadrant is it. So to identify first pala, which quadrant is it? So we know that cosecant theta is y, 1 over y. So ibig sabihin, dapat ang y dito is positive. So the y should be positive. So saan dito yung y is positive? It's in the first and second quadrant. So in the first, second quadrant only. So ibig sabihin, pagpilian mo lang first, second quadrant. So you should choose only one quadrant for you to identify the answer. So next is secant theta should be less than 0. So we know that secant is x with respect to x. So kung less than 0 siya, dapat, di ba, what are those numbers na mas maliit sa 0? They are negative. So negative lang yung mga maliliit sa 0. So ang x dapat negative. So x negative, positive ang y. Saan yan siya dyan? So negative x tapos positive ang y. Saan yan? It's in the second quadrant. So second quadrant. So we know na because the cosine is negative x and in here it's negative. So we're going to change this to negative instead ng positive siya because as we could see, this is from sine squared theta plus cosine squared theta is equal to 1. That's the first trigonometric or Pythagorean identity. So because we're solving for cosine, so manatili siya dyan sa kabila. We transpose this 1 minus sine squared theta, which is equal to, kasi kailangan na cosine lang, so square root mo para makancel ang squared. So 1 minus sine squared theta. This would come up with a positive, so we'll just put negative kasi negative ang x. And we know that cosine is x. So, and in here, negative dapat ang x. So, lagyan mo siya ng negative. Negative 1 minus sine squared theta. What is sine theta? It's 2/3. 2/3 squared. And it is equal to 1 minus 2 times 2, 4, kasi squared. 3 squared is 3 times 3 over 9. Or 3 times 3 is 9. So, negative. So, magiging 9. You could type this in the calculator, 1 minus 4 over 9. But if you don't have calculator, so, ito, 1 times 9, 9 minus 4, which is equal to negative square root of 5 over 9. Ang 5, walang square root, so manatili siyang square root of 5 over the square root of 9 is what number? If you're going to multiply to itself, the answer is 9. That's 3. So, ibig sabihin, cosine theta is negative 5 over 3. And the reciprocal of this is secant. So, secant theta is equal to 3 over, baliktarin mo yan, negative square root of 5. Always remember na dapat walang square root or walang radical sign sa baba. So what you're going to do is you're going to multiply this by square root of 5 over square root of 5. Ito yung kupihin mo lang yan siya dyan. So, ang mangyari niyan kasi, maging cancel na yan siya. Tapos 5 na lang matira. So, secant theta is equal to negative, sulat mo lang sa taas ang negative 3 over square root of 5. 3 times square root of 5 is 3. Square root of 5, square root of 5 times square root of 5 is 5. So, we know that secant is this one. Next, tangent. Tangent, we know that tangent theta is equal to y over x, or sine theta over cosine theta. So, this one, quotient identities. So, sine theta over cosine theta. So, tangent theta is equal to, what is sine theta? It's 2/3 over cosine theta. It's, where is cosine? Negative 5 square root of 3, which is equal to 2/3. Ang division magiging times, tapos ito baliktarin mo siya. So 3 over negative square root of 5. So you could cancel this 3. Matira na lang 2 negative square root of 5. Again, dapat walang square root sa baba. So multiply this by square root of 5 square root of 5. So the answer would be 2 square root of 5 times mo sa taas times mo sa baba, ilipat mo palang negative muna sa taas. Tapos ito, kapag may dalawang square root of 5, ang answer na lang is 5. So this is tangent. So cotangent is, baliktarin mo yan. So sa 5 sa taas, negative 2 square root of 5 sa baba. Again, there should be no square root sa baba. So what you're going to do is multiply this by square root of 5 square root of, so 5 times square root of 5, 5 square root of 5, ilipat mo negative sa taas, 2, ito siya, kasi yan, magiging 5 na lang. Makancel yung square root. So, as you could see, may 5 dito, may 5 dyan. So, what you're going to do is cancel. So, negative square root of 5 over 2. So, this is cotangent. So, we know already the 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Those are the 6 trigonometric functions. Next, we'll proceed with tangent theta, which is equal to 2. And cosecant theta should be less than 0. So the first thing we need to do is identify if it is in what quadrant it is. So saan quadrant yan siya? So we know that it's in tangent is y over x. So y over x. So magiging positive lang siya kapag kasi ang tangent theta dito is positive 2, so therefore it should be positive. So magiging positive lang yan siya kapag positive 2, or negative ang y, negative ang x. Kasi kapag negative y, negative x, ibig sabihin positive ang answer. Kapag positive, positive ang answer. Kasi kung negative yan siya, positive dito, it's negative ang answer. So it could not be that one. So saan yung positive ang x, positive ang y? It's in quadrant 1. Negative ang y, negative ang x, it's in quadrant 3. So it's either 1 and 3. So we're going to use this. Cosecant theta should be less than 0. Cosecant is y. It's in connection with y. Tapos kailangan na less than 0 siya. Ibig sabihin, negative. So, saan yung, di ba our choices here in the first condition is 1 and 3. And in between 1 and 3, saan yung y is negative? So, it's in 3. So, it's in 3. So, ibig sabihin, negative ang x, negative rin ang y. So, what are we going to do with that one? So, the first one, it's given is tangent theta is equal to 2. So, the reciprocal of tangent is cotangent. So, the second that we could solve is the cotangent. Reciprocal of this one is 1/2. Because 2 is equal to 2 over 1. So reciprocal niya is 1 over 2. Next, given the tangent and cotangent, what property are we going to use para makasolve tayo ng another trigonometric function? So we're going to use Pythagorean identities. Pythagorean identities is this one. Tan squared theta plus 1 is equal to secant squared theta. So we could solve for secant theta in here. So what we're going to do para makancel ng square root, ang squared pala, so square root mo to siya. So square root of tan theta is 2 squared plus 1 is equal to secant theta. So this one magiging 2 times 2, 4, because 2 squared is 2 times 2 plus 1 is equal to secant theta. So secant theta is equal to square root of 5. So this is the third one. Next, we know that the reciprocal of secant is kabaliktaran ng secant. Kabaliktaran ng secant is cosine. So kapag secant, kabaliktaran niya is cosine. Kapag sine, kabaliktaran niya is cosecant. Because, as you could see, one of the things that I could use to remember this one is kapag sine, kapag cosine, secant. So for secant, kabaliktaran niya is cosine theta, which is equal to, diba, ibig sabihin niya under 1. So the reciprocal of this is 1 over negative square root of 5. Again, there should be no square root. So multiply mo by square root of 5, So magiging 1 times square root of 5 is 1 square root of 5, or square root of 5 over 5. So this is cosine theta. Next, because we have cosine and we have tangent, we could use this one, or we could use yung ganito. So, but we know how to use this one, so we're going to have this. Yung tan theta is equal to sine theta over cosine theta. So, tan theta is 2. Sine theta, we're looking for sine theta over cosine theta. Cosine theta is square root of 5 over 5. Cross multiply sine theta, it would be equal to 2 times square root of 5 over 5, which is simply equal to 2 times square root of 5 is 2 square root of 5 over 5. So this is sine theta. So the reciprocal of this sine is cosecant theta. Cosecant theta is equal to, baliktarin mo yan, magiging 5 to square root of 5. So, multiply this by square root of 5 over square root of 5 para mawala yung square root of 5. So, cosecant theta is equal to 5 times square root of 5 is 5 square root of 5 over 2 times 5 square root of 5 square root of 5 is canceling square root 5 na lang. So, as you can see, may 5 dito, may 5 dyan. So, we could cancel. So, cosecant theta is equal to square root of 5 over 2. So, this is cosecant theta. So, that's how you're going to solve for other values of the remaining trigonometric functions of theta given some initial values and conditions.